and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. My name is Disha Thakur, and I am the Student Recruitment and Convergence Manager here at MLA College, and I will be the one who will be moderating this session for today. This webinar is held by MLA College. We are a UK distance learning provider. We provide degrees in sustainability and maritime education. So the key theme of the webinar is very interesting today. From policy to protection, how environmental law supports sustainable development. We'll just wait, Victor, we'll just wait for some time for attendees to join the webinar quickly, and we shall start in a few minutes. I think we've got quite a few attendees, so I think we can definitely start the conversation. From policy to protection, how environmental law supports, sustainable development. This, I believe, is a very timely conversation that needs to happen, with the current global trends that are going on, economic unrest, supply chains being abrupt at the moment, and geopolitical tensions that are prevailing currently in the economy. Often we see that sustainability is sidelined and is seen as long-term luxury. But more than ever, I believe this is the right time to prioritize sustainability and treat it as utmost priority. Now, it is my absolute honor to introduce our speaker for today, Victor, who's also a part of, MLA College community. Victor is a student who is currently undertaking our master's course in global sustainable development. He's also an environmental lawyer who has previously, you've got extensive experience in environmental law, human rights, and criminal law, and has been actively involved in litigation and legal advocacy. What makes his work extremely, particularly relevant is how he connects law to environmental justice. He has previously worked with NGOs and is also has done research around ecocide and is working with institutions to recognize ecocide as an international crime. Victor, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Lisha. It's an honor to be here today with all of you.
That is amazing, Victor. We are glad to have you. I am very, motivated, to see your journey. And for someone who, is not from sustainability background, because it feels like an abstract topic when I started engaging in it. So, conversations like these are what makes it real. Let's start with something simple for people who might not know what sustainability is and how the protection laws work. How would you explain it to a layman? What do you work?
Well, yes, I'm not new in sustainability. I think that this is something that has been in progress through all my career, but currently I'm more devoted to, and MLA College definitely give me that open door for me to go deeper. And I think that if I want to speak about my work, but I started as a lawyer back in Venezuela. I always was interested in environmental subjects, environmental issues, and sadly, I could not go to that career path. Um, I had to make a living, so I go to other areas of expertise of such as criminal law. I became a criminal litigator, so I started working in that particular area of law. But afterwards, I always wanted to continue studying and research about environmental issues. And I, when I was studying my master's degree on criminal law and criminology, I decided to cover environmental crimes, and that connected me to the crime of ecocide. I started to read and and do some research about this movement, this global movement that is been growing in the last decade towards the recognition of ecocide as the fifth crime under the Rome Statute. And I definitely connected with that since I have had already a background in criminal law and my interest in environmental issues that really made a click for me. And that's why I started to start working or researching about it. And that was a chain of actions that led me to connect with the Stop Ecocide International team. And I started as a volunteer with them, and I'm currently working as a Spanish coordinator on Stop Ecocide International.
That is illuminating. I am, amazed to see the kind of, experience you've had. The question that, I have, for someone who might not be from the field, you've used the word ecocide, which we talked about formally, Can you please explain as to what exactly ecocide means and how strongly do you feel that, it should be recognized as an international crime?
Well, to put it in simple words, ecocide is the destruction of our home, of our common house, which is the planet. So it's quite easy to understand that way. Obviously, when we are talking about international crimes, things can be more complex. Stop Ecocide International back in 2020 convened a group of experts, what's called the Independent Expert Panel, which worked together to reach a definition of ecocide, a legal definition that will definitely set the path towards its inclusion under the Rome Statute. And I will read the definition, which I think it's very important for people to understand. So when we talk about ecocide, we talk about unlawful or wanton acts committed with knowledge that there is a substantial likelihood of severe and either widespread or long-term damage to the environment being caused by those acts. So that being said, ecocide definitely involves the destruction of nature. We're not talking about local damage, but maybe covering wide areas of land or water. It's massive damage done to the environment.
Absolutely. And, for people like us who are not working directly in sustainability, when we hear about environmental laws, it often feels like, something that is done at a government level, but, these laws are actually something that make a huge impact on our day-to-day lives, right? The air we breathe, the food we consume. It is important to regulate, like, how people are damaging the environment. So, what role do you think law, plays in regulating norms and, on an institutional level, what is it that can be done differently?
Well, definitely the law, international laws in this case, defines what is permitted and what is not. And sadly, up to this day, there's not an international treaty that prohibits environmental destruction. So I think there's a legal gap, a very important gap to be filled, because international regulations, as they are today, they are not being enough to protect nature. And I think that lawyers and the legal framework needs to evolve in order to avoid this massive destruction that we are seeing everywhere right now. So it's important for this legal framework to progress to the next level and to find ways to protect the environment in a more efficient way.
Amazing. It is really illuminating for someone who has always felt very strongly about sustainability. When I started initially, sustainability was not something that came naturally to me. We start, first of all, sustainability starts as a concern that we see, and then suddenly it just becomes your career and something that you start feeling passionate about, and you think, that you have to save the planet that you is giving so much to you. So, as someone who's got extensive experience within this domain, what is it that individuals, young professionals, can do at their individual level apart from just being aware about what's going on in the economy currently?
Oh, that's a very good question, Disha. I think that sustainability and sustainable development is more than just a framework, is like a roadmap for ensuring our progress as a society. And I think that we as individuals can definitely do our part in order
Mm-hmm.
to achieve that sustainability. Starting with individual little actions, besides being aware, we need to understand that all our actions have an impact on the environment, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be as an individual, as a business person, or in the community. All our actions have an impact. When we understand that, we can definitely act on it and decide. Maybe having different actions, changing some behaviors in our everyday life, we
Right.
can definitely do our part. And when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to our work as, for example, in the business sector, whether you are part of a small or medium-sized business, for example, we can bring up innovative business models involving circularity and
Mm-hmm.
other innovative frameworks to make sure that our relationship with nature it's a positive one. Right now, I feel that our relationship with the planet overall is broken, and we as a group, as individuals, in whatever spheres we act, we need to understand that we need to recover this relationship, and hopefully, we are moving towards that path.
Absolutely. And, I believe that institutions shouldn't just encourage voluntary participation, but also make it a mandate that everyone knows about, at least about sustainability. What does it mean? And, how our day to day activities actually impact on the overall, planet. So one thing that I've often heard from people is, yeah, sustainability and development cannot go hand in hand, and there is always a tension that is always there. Do you think that this is something that can is a real, first of all, a conflict, or do you think this is something that can be approached in a different way? I personally believe it is something that is intertwined, that should be intertwined, and you can approach sustainability, keeping in mind the development aspect of it as well.
Well, that's interesting. Well, yeah, it depends from the perspective we see things. For
Of course.
example, if we see economic progress or development in a business as usual focus, obviously we
Mm-hmm.
are not. We're going to find conflicts, evidently.
Right.
So I think that if we are seeing development intertwined with the protection of nature to preservation
Mm-hmm.
of our ecosystems, if we apply that in our business models or in our everyday lives, I think that we are going to see a true sustainable development. And in that way, so maybe sustainability and development are not that far apart. Maybe they can complement each other.
Absolutely. And in your view, what does a good sustainable development, actually look like on ground? If you can give me a real example where sustainability and development can go hand in hand.
Well, yes, circularity models, for example, they
Mm-hmm.
are innovative business models that will think and consider the natural elements in order to still being profitable, but being also responsible for your activities, for your business model, and its impact on the environment and its surrounding. Other examples, for example, the big corporations, the triple impact business model. Those frameworks, I think they are very clear examples of how can you achieve good sustainable development aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that that is definitely a way for us to ensure that future generations can meet their own needs without sacrificing the integrity of our planet.
Absolutely, 100%. And what's interesting, whenever there is a global crisis that is prevailing in the country, we often see that sustainability is something that is completely sidelined. It is viewed as a long-term luxury. It is viewed as something that, can be prolonged. There can be something that can be, procrastinated. And although countries are often saying that they are taking care of it and they are like actively working on making impact, they often ignore the plight of the population. What do you think we should do, like with everything that is globally happening with economic pressures? How do you think the countries tend to compromise on environmental commitments?
Well, that's a very great question. I think that sustainability should not be a long-term luxury, but a short-term necessity, especially in this particular context. And now more than ever, we need to understand the importance of finding more sustainable ways of doing things to ensure progress as a society without impacting the environment the way that we are doing it right now. And in this particular context, in the global context that we are living in, evidently there are so many forces working against that those goals of sustainability, and we definitely need to put more attention to it because we are not talking about some trivial things. We are speaking about our very survival as a society, as humanity, and the way that we coexist within the ecosystems that surround us, the species that live with us in this planet. So it's not a trivial thing. We need to put the importance that it deserves and evidently put not sideline discussions of sustainability, which, as I said, they are so important, and we need to progress towards that.
I am completely aligned with you 100%, on that. That countries shouldn't just pledge that these commitments, but they should take actionable steps on actually achieving these goals. United Nations launched their 17 sustainable development goals that were supposed to be achieved by 2030, and now they are further pushed to be achieved by 2047. How do you feel that are we somewhere close to actually achieving these goals, or how do you think institutions should approach this in order for us to achieve these goals as soon as possible?
Well, it's complex this question because there are so many disparities worldwide about the achievement of those goals. I would like to be hopeful that we are close to achieving them, but I think there are still so many things that we need to do, and not only at the state level. The different states have their own responsibilities and differentiated responsibilities, but I think that as a whole, as an international community, we still need to work towards more agreements, more understanding, and more action. Sometimes these goals are used as reference for certain activities, yet they are not implemented at the local level as well as they should be. So every state obviously needs to comply with their own set goals and move towards them. Sadly, it's not the reality that we're seeing today. Still, in a world with so many complexities going on, but still, we need to remain hopeful and push for these goals to be achieved. Obviously.
Absolutely, we definitely need to be hopeful, and we should be optimistic about the future. While I said that, we have got amazing engagement from our audiences. Seems like they're enjoying the conversation as much as I am. So we've got a participant. His name is Joel, and he is talking about, he wants to know what can be done if international law sometimes works against national laws of a given country.
Well, the relationship between international law and local law should be complementary. They should not be opposed to each other. And sometimes countries doesn't comply with the international obligations that needs to be that needs to be faced. But I
Hmm.
think that as if international regulations are aligned with local interests and local responsibilities, the law could definitely serve to its purpose. Um, right now, the global context really is challenging. For example, for states to comply with international obligations, there are not enough frameworks, legal frameworks to ensure that those regulations, international regulations, are complied with. And that's it, definitely something that we need to address. And that's one of the reasons that Stop Ecocide, for example, is working towards not only accountability, but also the shared responsibility towards a better future for all of us.
100%. And, your answer was definitely very insightful and illuminating for me personally. And I do hope that Joel also got his answer. You were right now speaking a little bit about ecocide. I've got another question from Dr. Suman, who wants to know, does anyone measure or monitor the cost of damage due to wars or conflicts? And if so, can we have two, three examples of penalties that can be imposed on people or institutions causing ecocide? I must say, Dr. Subban, it's a really nice question. I would definitely want to know that, the examples that we actually, how this can be measured into penalties.
Yes, well, it definitely depends on the kind of damage. Every country have their own local legislation, and some of them actually have already placed ecocide in their criminal codes. But when we are speaking about international conflicts, for example, the Rome Statute already covers environmental damage in during war times. Um, I think that the Rome Statute is clear about its penalties, which can vary depending on the severity of the crimes. But right now, what is missing is the coverage of ecocide when it's during peacetime. So that's why, or that's the reason why Stop Ecocide is moving towards the recognition of ecocide as a standalone crime under the Rome Statute, because it is clear that it already exists a crime of ecocide during war times, but not in peace times. We're talking about damage caused by corporations, for example, transnationals that may affect environment or impact environment in some sort of way. And right now, there's no accountability in an international scale, and that definitely needs to be addressed. And that's why we're moving towards this recognition and pushing not only in an international scale, but also in a national level in the countries that don't have this kind of crimes in their international in national legislations.
Thank you so much, Victor, for answering that question, and giving us real examples of how actually this can be monitored and measured, and how can this not be sidelined while the economic crisis is going on, and there should definitely be accountability, even if it is with regards to, institutions, countries, nations, everyone has to be held accountable for sure. That being said, I really do appreciate everyone who's participating, in the questions, answers in the webinar. We do appreciate, more questions if you have got any. Moving on and building on to our, conversation. Your work specifically in environmental crimes. Why do you think accountability comes so, difficult? Why is it so difficult specifically in this space? Why do people don't want to take responsibilities of the actions that they're committing?
Well, to say it in simple words, maybe it's often cheaper for a company to maybe pay a fine for pollution than to change their business models. So I think accountability is hard in that way because our laws are not designed to stop harm before it happens. So that's why I reiterate that we need to draw a line. Unfortunately, environmental legislation as it is today hasn't been enough to stop this massive destruction. So we need clear rules about what is prohibited. And right now, uh, there's no way for us to reach the accountability that we need and the deterrence, because not only we are talking about punishing people for doing harm, but also to deter them to stop doing harm in their activities. So that's an important part of criminal law. It's not just about punishing, but also protecting. And protecting the environment is it should be primordial for all of us, and in an international scale more so, because every day we are seeing more and more and more environmental destruction without having any accountability.
Y- You are absolutely right in saying that, our day-to-day actions have a huge impact, on the overall well-being of not just our society, but also our planet. And we are compromising, for short-term goals. I think we are compromising our long-term sustainability goals and overall, well-being of the generation that is coming after us. I do see some questions coming in from our attendees. Before we, get into that, I quickly want to go back to, as we have already clarified to our audience, you are, apart from just being a person who's got extensive experience within the industry, you're also a student with MLA College. For someone who's working, taking part, handling an NGO on its own and taking part in so many conferences and everything, how has it been, being a student alongside all of this, and how has, MLA College helped you in that journey?
Well, doing all of this while studying might be challenging, but so far my experience at MLA College has been very easy to go with. Um, I can really organize myself with my time, and having classes or lectures, for example, in my own schedule is really helpful. I try to go ahead a little bit before the deadline. So I always try to focus my time in an organized way. Sometimes it's not that easy, depending on the weeks and maybe the workload. But so far, the experience has been really convenient for me for my job. I don't have a clear schedule in my everyday life, so it's
Hmm.
helpful to be able to watch the videos in my own time, maybe in some spare time that I got on the weekend. It definitely um, is convenient.
I completely echo your thoughts. I personally take huge pride in associating with a company, a brand that, not just advocates for sustainability, but also is a impact maker, right? I am, although a student recruitment and convergence manager here in, MLA College, I've myself done a few modules of sustainable development goals, and I completely understand, if you do not have any strict schedules or any live lectures that you need to follow, that sort of gives you a lot of flexibility. And if you really deeply feel passionate about something, I do believe that, you can spare some time and, pursue that. As MLA College, we were recently, sustainability sponsors for the Pi Live India. And apart from that, we have also created sustainable development, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals laid out by United Nations, as bite-size offerings with us. So all the 17 sustainable development goals have now been made out of into a module that anyone can stack on their existing degrees, and they can just pursue this at a convenient time. It's just something that is our way of giving back to the society and to encourage people to know what we are actually doing on a day-to-day basis that is impacting our overall planet. So I definitely, get what you're saying. And we do take absolute pride in, enhancing your overall student experience. That
Thank
being
you.
said, I just want to quickly see, have you, I understand that you are currently pursuing the program. So, how have you already decided a, topic of your dissertation? I'm sorry, I don't want to put you on spot.
Not at all. I have so many subjects that I want to cover or do some research about, but so far I don't have a clear topic to cover. Hopefully, in the next months I will be able to decide. I like to read a lot before deciding the path I'm going to go. So I need still to maybe have some articles to read or some other topics to check before making a decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is a very important topic to sort of finalize your thesis. So I think good luck for that, definitely. I do see a question coming in from one of our attendees who's asking if we are going to get the certificate of attendance. I do believe, yes, certificates of attendance will be sent out to you on your emails post the webinar. In fact, the webinar is also recorded and will be available on our YouTube platform for you. If in case you've missed something, you can definitely go back and view these webinars on our channel. And we've got, apart from this conversation that we're having today, we always keep on having these webinars where we encourage people to sort of join and talk about topics that are relevant and that are very important, in today's world. All right, Victor. So, another question that I have for you is, we often talk about sustainability, and you yourself who have advocated so much about international, laws and how we can sort of try to measure, and institutionalize what is our approach in attending to these mechanisms that are there. What do you think, is a meaningful engagement for youth today? Because many of our attendees, I do believe, are young professionals who are joining. So, what do you think, apart from just awareness, can be done from people like us?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think today's youth have an important role in progressing sustainability, and I think that with all the new technologies, the information technologies that are well, emerging and evolving so fast, the youth always have a this leg up and will definitely be the change makers of the future. So I think that their role is important, so they can bridge this maybe technical knowledge with the communication that we need uh, for sustainability to progress into the next steps. I think that the youth maybe are more able to translate these complex conversations into maybe a social media campaign or maybe other movements, the emerging of um, grassroots organizations, for example. And so I think that it is important for students, young people to engage, not only be aware, because I think that we are having more awareness nowadays with all the information available, and sometimes it's a lot, but the young people definitely have an important role in progressing these conversations and making this progression more fluid into the next generation. So I think it's so important to provide this kind of scenarios and platforms for young people to be inspired and to continue working with their skills, their abilities, and put them into practice.
100%. And definitely having guests like you who can, simplify on how to, start from scratch, because often conversations like this do not, happen on a day-to-day basis. So we definitely need people who very strongly advocate about this, and platforms that give other people opportunity to sort of listen to that. That being said, I wanted to ask you a question that, I understand that you are currently a student. Do you think education today is preparing people well enough to handle sustainability challenges that may be arising?
Yes, definitely. I think education has been evolving in a positive way to cover subjects such as sustainability and all its implications in all the areas of expertise and knowledge with a scientific base. So I think education is progressing towards democratization of knowledge. And in this particular field, I believe that there's still a lot of way to go when it comes to access for education in maybe vulnerable communities or less privileged communities. But still, I see progress. MLA College is an example of this progress, and I think that um, these platforms, these academic opportunities, really will solidify the progress that we are looking for. And I believe that education definitely is going to be an important part of the achievement of the goals that we are aspiring to achieve.
Absolutely. And, I am glad that MLA College is able to, deliver that to people who are really aspiring to make a change in the society and in the world. Um, you know, because me personally, we were speaking about how as a human, we can start from scratch. So I did one of these modules on sustainability, and that really intrigued me to, actually start taking actionable steps so that I can actually give it back to the society. I've started my own individual motives that I'm undertaking. What do you think you suggest on ground that is something that is real that can be taken as an initiative by people just to start small so that they are not feeling like they're compromising on their overall life and on how they are consuming things, but something that can be very attainable, that can be very easily achievable.
I can tell a little bit about my experience because when I
Hmm.
was young, I was not aware of all my potential.
Hmm.
I wish I knew back then, but I started, like you say, from scratch, starting with volunteer opportunities. That really opened my eyes towards understanding situations, very critical situations back in my country, not only in an environmental aspect, but also regarding human rights. But I think that uh, we need to understand or make the link between our passions, what we want to be in our career path, and the role that we have in society. What can we do using our skills and our passions towards a greater good? And I think that back then, when I started as a volunteer in local organizations back in my hometown, Maracaibo, I really was looking towards that goal without knowing. I was learning a lot about some critical issues, and I really grow from that experience. And when it comes to not knowing what to do, maybe we feel overwhelmed with local news, with national and international news. We might feel a little bit overwhelmed, but we need to understand that there's a lot that we can do, and you don't have to start big. Maybe it's better to start from your own house, your own community, doing those small things that it will make small changes, but significant changes in others' lives, for example. So I think it's important to realize that we have a potential and we need to put it for a good use.
100%. Thank you so much for giving us, examples that youth can be a part of conferences, youth can actively participate in internships or, let's go back to, we were having a conversation earlier and you said that you started from Venezuela, right? And you are currently also a part of an NGO. What is, your primary work in that NGO and how do you think you're supporting people who are on this journey?
Well, I'm working with Stop Ecocide International as a Spanish coordinator. I was a volunteer back in Venezuela for Venezuela Sin Ecocidio, which opened my door to this amazing group of people that I work with today. And my work is pushing the campaign, the movement here in Spain and in the Spanish-speaking countries towards the recognition of ecocide, not only as an international crime, but also in local legislations. And this is, for me, it's a dream job. I always wanted to be a part of an international organization which aligns with my interests, with my passions, my background in criminal law, I mean, interest in environmental issues. So I am really proud and honored to be a part of this movement, which is already achieving so much in the international sphere and also in local legislations. Uh, uh, I think that ecocide as a concept is getting the recognition that it deserves in public communications, in the media, and I think sooner than later, this crime will be recognized in the Rome Statute, and we are moving um, very swiftly towards that goal.
Absolutely. And it is definitely amazing to see the kind of traction that ecocide is definitely getting these days. And if we can sort of like, have some measures that can be, that we can penalize people who are like, making these kind of shifts in the society. On a very positive note, what is the positive shift that you have recently seen in environmental law or, in sustainability right now?
Well, there are some many emerging concepts
Mm-hmm.
surrounding environmental law, such as earth
Right.
law, eco jurisprudence, rights of nature, and also
Mm-hmm.
ecocide, not only as an international crime, but also at the local level. I think there is more awareness and information available, and there are the knowledge that through legal tools, we can offer alternatives to the way that we do things today and the way that we frame our relationship with the environment. And talking again about ecocide, this possibility of having it under Rome Statute is um, getting progress towards its goal. In 2024, for example, small islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Samoa proposed it formally on the International Criminal Court, and it's already being discussed as a possibility. So it's real, it's getting real, and the way that we are moving towards that goal is to gather into support of the states and the public, uh, other international organizations that we are aligned with. And I think that this shift will definitely change the way that we see international legislation. I think there is a need for a legal evolution, a shift in our culture, and the law definitely is one of the tools that we can use towards this evolution. And I think it's very important for us to move towards a more um, clear framework for the regulation of how we conduct with the environment.
100%, it is really positive to have an optimistic tone for the future and what is coming up for us. And it is definitely highlight to see, the positive change that is there definitely in how we are dealing with these issues. I've got another question that is coming up from Ervino Jr. And his question is, what is the role of international law and international cooperations in promoting global sustainable development, and how to strengthen the coordination and implementation of international and domestic laws?
That's a great question. I think the states have the utmost responsibility to achieve in their own ways the sustainable development goals. International cooperation is crucial because we are not isolated from each other. Sometimes we might face different challenges, but in a similar ways, we can
Mm,
find uh, those similarities to help each other to understand the problems that we are facing, not only as a country, as a state, but also as an international community. And
mm,
right now, I see international cooperation to be most important than ever, especially in this particular context with so many things going on in the world. Not only going towards the achievement of sustainable development goals, but also to achieving peace. Because without peace, we won't have a sustainable future for anybody. So I think in, right now more than ever, it's important for us to understand that and to go towards not only sustainable development goals, but also for peace.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And, I think international goals should also align with the domestic goals of a country, in specifically in times like these when there's a global crisis, and definitely every country wants to prioritize different needs that are, important at present. In fact, for example, I think it's important in times like these that innovation comes in picture. For example, there was shortage of, say, fuel. In that scenario, we have came up with green energy. So I believe times like these also push us for innovation. And on our end, as a participant, what we can think about is switching our ways of life, and being mindful about our consumption, and rethinking about the ways how we can proceed with life. That being said, quickly wanted to talk a little bit about MLA College as well. We at MLA College, specifically explore these themes in our master's and bachelor's courses in global sustainable development. We've got personal tutors who are there to support you throughout your education journey. And we do not have live lectures. We do have recorded lectures for people like Victor, who are established professionals within the industry, who can have ease of access whenever they want and wherever they want. With that being said, we recently, we have an upcoming intake that's definitely coming up in May. So if in case someone who's interested in knowing more about what we offer as MLA College, we will be more than, happy to assist you in starting your journey for sustainability and towards a better future. It has been, I think, very illuminating for me personally and very insightful, the overall conversation that we have had today. I would definitely appreciate some questions if anyone from the audience is, wants to provide to us. We'll be more than happy to take it. Okay, amazing. We've got one question from Fabian. She said she just joined. So, Fabian, I think you will be able to access our complete recording on our YouTube channels. Very. It'll be uploaded very soon, so you will be able to access that. And her question is that she wants to dive into HSE. She's undergone a HSE 1, 2, 3 level and doesn't see it as enough. So anything that you can suggest, Victor, that will be a help forward for her.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. She said that she is currently looking to switch her career into HSE, and she has undergone certifications of HSE level 1, 2, and 3, but doesn't think that is enough. So, can you suggest her any way forward with regards to this?
Well, I think you have to follow your intuition. I did. I started as a lawyer, as a criminal lawyer back in Venezuela, but I always have that environmental aspect of not only law but also environmental issues in my mind. So in the long term, I changed career path in a very timely way. In a moment where in my country, for example, there were so many things going on, and I had this opportunity to work in international organizations in progressing international law towards a better future for us. So I think that as long as you follow your intuition, you will make the right decision. You need only to uh, put the maybe the puzzle pieces in order for you to be able to make that decision.
100%. I completely, echo your thoughts. I was also someone who didn't know anything about sustain. Of course, we definitely learn about sustainability here and there, but we do not know where to start and how to actually make an impact. But when I started my journey with MLA College and we started, talking a lot about sustainability and we started advocating about it, I always felt like, a stranger to the concept, and that is when I actually started reading about it. So there are multiple conferences that always happen, and they always, encourage youth participation. So please be a part of that, take up any, internships or anything like that if you wish to learn more about these. Also, we've got, stackable courses that I've previously talked about with MLA College. So if in case you're interested in that, you can take up one module, or you can take the entire 17. Whatever resonates with you, you can definitely, sort of proceed with that, I believe. That also brings us to the conclusion of this webinar. It was definitely a very insightful conversation for me. So just to wrap up, I would like to, say sustainable development often sounds big and give the global concept. And with today's discussion, it really showcases that, it comes down to systems, accountability, and people. Environmental law is not just one of the ways about how we can approach sustainability. It should not just be optional, but it should be voluntarily, but voluntary people's participation, but not an optional one. And my key takeaway from this is it's not just about having policies, but also making sure that we are making it work and holding people accountable for that.
Yes,
Victor, any
absolutely.
leaving thoughts?
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. I think now more than ever, it's important for us to engage in any capacity that we can in order to not only have a better possibility for a sustainable future for not only us, for also for our children, for all the species that coexist with us in this planet.
Hmm.
It is important for us to realize the importance of this time, the present that we're living, and the way that we can shift um, the, the culture, the shift of all narratives that needs to be changed, behaviors that we need to stay behind and progress as a society. Because as long as we repair our relationship with nature, we are definitely going to make better decisions. And in any capacity that we involve ourselves in this movement, whether you are an individual, whether you are a business person or owner, you definitely have ways to not only achieve your goals, your profits, but also to be uh, to align yourself or your actions with sustainable development goals. So I think it's important for us to realize the importance of this in today's world, and hopefully all our audience today will make their part to support the cause and to really get involved in this.
Absolutely. And I will remember your line, repair your relationship with nature. I think that's what I am gonna be mindful of and think twice about, our actions that might impact our overall future. Thank you so much, Victor, for being a part of this conversation. I really do appreciate your time. And thank you to all our attendees for being so engaging throughout our conversation. And if in case you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we will be more than happy to assist you in any way possible. And I'm sure Victor is also definitely available on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions for him, please feel free to reach out to him as well. Thank you so much for all the participation. Have a good one, guys.
You.